Paul Anderson says, I believe the pandemic has shown up the general incompetence of the civil service. After all, it's these people that actually carry out the government's requirements. I guess they are very much outside their comfort zone and ability threshold. All of a sudden, they have to do something other than bean counting. They've not done much very well at all. You think of like Public Health England. And again, I know, the government have to take it on the chin. They carry the responsibility for all of these things. But I mean, Public Health England, I think governments have just kind of left them alone forever to carry on doing whatever it is they do over there. And then suddenly you discover actually quite a lot of this whole coronavirus agenda that actually lays firmly at the doorstep of them. And I get it. Hancock ultimately, Johnson ultimately are in charge. But nonetheless, it is rather interesting that these stories do begin for the first time to expose some of those areas that you don't tend to think on a day-to-day basis much about. Public Health England, there it is. You hear the name, doesn't mean very much. And suddenly they had to mobilise into action. I imagine somebody sort of knocking on a big door and 5,000 civil servants starting to go, what work? What, today? Really? What, for more than 1 week? Got my 33-week holiday entitlement to get through by September, thank you. 0344 499 1000. We'll come back to that in a few moments' time. Let's go to face masks, and your calls on the way. Repeatedly refusing to wear one could lead to a fine of up to £3,200, Boris Johnson has announced. Currently, those who do not cover their faces in shops or on public transport can be ordered to pay a penalty of £100, which is reduced to 50 if you pay within a fortnight. But the PM has now said those caught without a mask for a second time will now face a fine of £200, with the amount doubling on every repeat offence to a maximum of £3,200. Not 3,000, £3,200. I wonder why they stopped there. However, this week we also learnt that only 33 fines have been issued to people for failing to wear a mask, despite police stopping 30,000 people. Wow. So what exactly is the point of the new fine? Brendan O'Neill is the editor of Spiked Online. Are you mask wearing as we speak, Brendan?
Not right now, but I have been wearing a mask, okay. In shops and on the tube. And all that.
And begrudgingly wearing a mask?
Yeah, quite grudgingly. I don't like them. I think they're stuffy. I find it hard to breathe, and I just don't like the way they cover people's faces. You can't smile at people. There's no more small talk. It's very difficult to engage with people in shops. So I don't like them. I think they're antisocial, and I also think it's possible that they're not necessary because COVID, as it happens in relation to COVID, we're doing pretty well at the moment. Deaths from COVID in hospitals are down 99% from the peak. Hospitalizations are down 96% from the peak back in March. This virus is fading away, even where it's coming back in certain hotspots. It's very interestingly not leading to increased hospitalizations, which suggests that the virus is becoming weaker and that warm weather is helping. So I'm not sure we need to be as panicked as some people are.
What do you think's going on, though, in terms of the kind of fascination with the mask? Because we remember at the beginning, and we played earlier the little clip of Jenny Harris, the deputy medical director, I think it is, who famously talked about how masks don't really do very much. The WHO had said, masks aren't the be and end all. And then suddenly the government went from sort of being, no mask instruction to being almost evangelical about it.
Well, I think that's the thing that strikes a lot of people as being a bit weird. So at the height of the pandemic, when huge numbers of people were dying every day, you could go to your local supermarket. That was one place we were allowed to go. And you could go there with no mask. And, you inevitably would walk down the same aisle as other people and talk to other people. And you didn't have to wear a mask. Now, when COVID has disappeared from large parts of the country, particularly from London, you have to wear a mask in every single shop, on every single bus, on every single train. It seems odd. And I think that the jury is still out on the efficacy of masks and whether they really do protect against COVID. Some experts say they do, and some experts are a bit more skeptical. But I fear that we are sleepwalking into an authoritarian state. And this so-called new normal, as people refer to it, the question I have about the new normal, which involves wearing masks, being fined, being told to stay in your home if your area becomes a hotspot, all these very authoritarian measures that are referred to as the new normal. The question is, when will this end? When will the new normal end and the old normal come back? And I think a lot of people are probably asking themselves that question.
Yeah, and again, the £3,200 fine, it's curiously random. I mentioned there at the intro, it's not 3,000 or 3,400. Someone settled on 3,200, bearing in mind they've only issued 33 fines out of stopping 30,000 people. I've got a funny feeling, Brendan, if we speak in 6 months' time, we will know of no one who's been fined 3,200 quid.
Yeah, I hope so. And that figure that you put out at the beginning, that there's been such a small number of fines, is really interesting because even though I don't like a lot of aspects of this new climate, one thing I've noticed, I've seen people in shops without masks. I've wandered into a shop having forgotten to put my mask on, and then I quickly put it on when I realised. And people are actually quite understanding. Shopkeepers and shop assistants are quite understanding. So I think a lot of people are just saying, listen, let's not overreact to this situation. The flip side to that, of course, is we have, people who go on and on about co-vidiots and who take photographs of people at the beach and presumably will one day be taking photographs of people who dare to get on public transport without a mask and then shaming them on Twitter and social media. I'm sure that will happen, but I sense that a lot of people are being quite sensible about this. They are wearing the masks where it is mandatory. Sometimes they forget them and people are generally a little bit chilled out.
Brendan, always good to talk. Thank you, Brendan O'Neill, editor of Spiked Online. How are you sensing the mask thing? I hate it. I have to say, I loathe every bit of the mask wearing thing. It's uncomfortable. You don't breathe too easily. But, more than anything else, I hate the aesthetics of looking across at my fellow humanoids and seeing everyone in a mask. There is something incredibly disappointing and sinister about it. And I know that there's an inevitability, and I appreciate that, the smart money says, look, we're a bit unsure. They might work. We think they work. And some people are evangelical. They do work. So just err on the side of caution and wear the mask. So that's why we're all wearing the mask. And I do kind of get that. But simultaneously, and I think the problem with this whole coronavirus story is that it's sort of challenging our ability to form set opinions in the way we normally would do, because the picture is ever changing. I've changed my view on lots of aspects of coronavirus since it started, and I look at where we're at now, and I'd like to think we are largely sorted in the sense that the vulnerable groups, those that have pre-existing health conditions, elderly people, etc., care homes and the like, if a second wave were to come around the corner at 100 miles an hour, it would be extraordinary if we were not prepared for that. And of course, every country around the world suffered at varying levels the same surprises in all of these areas by not thinking that it was going to be them. So I doubt whether we would find ourselves in the same place as we were back then, which makes me think, well, in which case, does the virus just go away? Like, if everybody wears a mask, if everybody keeps their distance, if everybody stays away from crowded places, does the virus just go away? Or does it kind of sit there on a brick wall somewhere, looking around going, I'll just wait for that mask to come off. There it goes, and I'm in. Is that how it works? Or if everybody just keeps wearing the mask, does the virus eventually just disappear? I don't know. How does that work? 0344 499 1000. How are you on the mask thing? Are you refusing to wear it? Refusing to wear the mask? The fellow that cuts my hair, by the way, evangelical about getting the mask on. Saw him in Tesco yesterday without a mask. What's going on there? So there's a lot of that sort of, do I wear it here? Have I forgotten it? Have I got a reason not to wear it? I see people on the train not wearing it. I haven't seen anyone challenge yet, but I know those things do happen.